Hello. Today, we'd like to address another of the questions that I have in my new Sefer Shaf Veyativ, the question that deals with the coronavirus. And those are questions that we got to our Bet Torah, and we dealt with it within the time of the pandemic. The 67 questions in the Sefer that have to do with how one behaves and all kind of issues that came across at the terrible time of the virus. One of the questions is a question that has to do with human nature. Normally, when a person sees another person hurt, right away he tries to understand why is it that he got hurt. And we nature very critical, which means we right away think what sin that other person made. We're very critical when it gets to other people. When it gets to ourselves, not necessarily. Some people are critical of themselves, and some people have all the excuses and they have no problem with their actions. But when we're dealing with the other, we always have that in mind. Why did he get what he got? And one of the questions that we had was indeed very painful one, and that is a loss of person's finance, his livelihood, and his source of income. His wife blames him for his sins. She says that the reason he lost his income is because he sins. The person is not a righteous person, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu caused him to lose his income. And because of that, they have issues of Shlom Bayit. They have fightings. They came to our Bet Torah, and we need to know, is she right or is he right? Is he right that there's no connection between the loss of finance to his sins? Or maybe she's right that the loss of sins caused him to lose his finance. She has a great claim against him. This is the question that it's written in Nun Chet, page Shin Yud Gimel, question 58. טבע בני אדם לחפש תמיד את הצדק בבריאה. The nature of people is always to look for the righteousness in the world. ואכן באה לפנינו שאלה. A question came to our table. מאישה נשואה הטוענת כנגד בעלה, a married woman that has a claim against her husband, שוודאי משמיים גזרו עליו להפסיד פרנסתו, that it's caused from heaven that he should lose his livelihood, עקב שאינו שומר מצוות כראוי, since he doesn't keep Torah correctly. And because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu caused him to lose his source of income. מעשיו גרמו להפסד. שלום ביתה מופר. Now, there's lack of שלום בית. There's fightings in the house. מה יש להשיבם? How do you answer such people? Is he right that there's no relation between the two because that's his claim? What does that have to do with my sins? Or maybe she's right and she has a good claim on him. We found such an idea in the Chida. A Chida wrote a question and answer sefer called Chaim Shal in Chelek Aleph Siman Mem Hey. He was asked something similar. Over there was a question about two partners, Reuven and Shimon, that were buying merchandise and going out to sell them in various marketplaces. And they would make money and split the profit. One day, Shimon went to make business, and while he was going in the desert, he also went and violated deliberately the Shabbat. He went traveling on Shabbat. Sure enough, robbers came and robbed all his merchandise. When he came to tell Reuven what happened, Reuven told him that Shimon has to bear the entire loss. Why is that? Reuven says that the reason we lost the merchandise is because of you. You violated the Shabbat. You violate the Shabbat, you get punished. That is your punishment. I didn't violate the Shabbat, Reuven said. I was home, keeping the Shabbat. Why should I bear the loss? Shimon tells Reuven, what have to do one with the other? I violated the Shabbat. I'm gonna have the responsibility to get punished by heaven, but nothing to do with the merchandise that we just lost. They had over here back and forth until they decided to come in front of the Chida. The Chida pointed out that there's such a Sefer, Sha'arei Yeshua. And Sha'arei Yeshua says that although we found in the Gemara a similar case, that there were partners, that one of them dealt with nevelot and trefot, merchandise that you're not allowed to sell. Since nevelot and trefot, not only that you're not allowed to eat, the halacha is that anything you're not allowed to eat, which is a violation mideoraita, you're also not allowed to sell. You're not allowed to make merchandise with such things. A person is not allowed to open a McDonald's or something like that he sells things that are treif or nevelot. Not allowed to deal with that. So one of the partners bought nevelot with trefot. He saw a good deal. He figured that he's going to make a lot of money. Very big, very good deal. He's going to sell with a big profit. But over there, he bought the nevelot with trefot and lost everything. His partner said that since he bought nevelot with trefot, he has to bear the loss completely because he violated the Torah. And indeed, that is the halacha. Says the Sha'arei Yeshua, that is different than our case. Because over there, the nevelot with trefot that you bought, that merchandise you weren't allowed to buy. There's a problem in the merchandise. Unlike our case over here with Reuven and Shimon, the merchandise is a good merchandise. But Shimon was violating the Shabbat. What does that have to do with the merchandise? It's two different things. When Shimon violates the Shabbat, he'll get punished for violating the Shabbat. But why is it that the merchandise was taken? That nothing to do with the violation of the Shabbat. And you don't compare the two. We found such a thing in various places, that you don't compare the time with the object itself. For example, he brings a Gemara. The Gemara says in the first parak on Shabbat that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves tzaddikim from eating things that are not allowed to eat. So if a tzaddik comes to eat something and it's not kosher, he doesn't know that it's not kosher. Kadosh Baruch Hu would save him. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevi takala latzadikim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not bring a takala, a violation, to a tzaddik by eating something that's asur. Says Tosfot, that is only true for a tzaddik to eat the thing that's asur. But can a tzaddik eat something that's mutar at the time that is asur? Let's say he'll eat kosher food at Yom Kippurim without knowing. He doesn't know that today, let's say it's Yom Kippur, and he would eat it, but it's kosher. Tosfot says yes, because eating something that's asur, that's meguneh, that's now good, that's something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not let happen. But eating something that's kosher at the wrong time, that's not something that's meguneh, disgusting to that point, and therefore for that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not necessarily save the tzaddik. That's the chiluk that Tosfot makes. Says the Sha'arei Yeshua also here, you don't connect between the two. The object itself, whenever the object itself is asur, that is enough to blame the people that dealt with it. So the person that bought merchandise that's nevelot with trefot, he has to bear the loss if he gets lost. But a person that bought kosher merchandise, things that he could have sold and he could have dealt with, but he violated the Shabbat, no connection. He violated the Shabbat, that's a wrong time. But to take it to say that the violation of Shabbat caused him a loss, that we don't necessarily know, and we can make that connection. We found same idea in Halacha, in Shulchan Aruch או של משפט רש ל"ה, שהמוכר או קונה קניין בשבת, אף שמקין אותו מעשיו קיימים. Which means, if a person buys something on Shabbat or sells something on Shabbat, although he violated Shabbat, you're not allowed to sell or buy on Shabbat Kodesh. But although one is not allowed to make a sale on Shabbat, if he didn't make a sale, he violated the Shabbat by selling or buying, the acquisition still valid. It's still a good kinyan. We don't say that since he sold it on Shabbat, there's no sale at all, and it's cancelled out, and the sale is not valid. No, we're saying the sale is a sale, and if you buy something, it's considered bought, it's considered yours. The only thing is, he violated the Shabbat, and he gets malkot for it. So we don't connect the two. It says the Chida in Chaim Sha'al, same thing over here. Shimon that violated the Shabbat, indeed will get punished for it. Mishamayim, Kadosh Baruch Hu will punish him. But the loss that he had because of the robbery, both have to bear. Shimon and Reuven evenly. And Reuven can say that Shimon should take the entire loss. Same idea we found in Trumat Hadeshen, a story close to our story. Over there, it's a husband that came to Bet Din, and he has a claim against his wife. His wife consistently says nedarim, and she doesn't keep them. Noderet ve'eno mekayemet. Now, the Gemara in Ketubot, Perek Shvi, deals with such a woman. And the Gemara says, the Mishnah over there brings a list of women that yotzot belo Ketuba, which means a man is allowed to divorce his wife for certain things that they do, and she doesn't even get the Ketuba money, because what she did makes her lose the Ketuba money as well. One of the things is noderet ve'ena mekayemet, which means she says vows, she says a neder, and she doesn't fulfill that neder. She doesn't keep to it. Because of that, all kind of suffering come. What are the suffering that a person bears because of that? Says the Gemara in Shabbat, Lamed Bet Amud Bet, Rebbe Omer בעוון נדרים בנים מתים שהם קטנים. לא עלינו. When a person makes a neder, he doesn't keep it, his children could die when they're young. How do we know that? There's a pasuk in Kohelet, hey, אל תיתן את פיך לחטיא את בשריך. Don't let your mouth cause your body to sin. ואל תאמר לפני המלאך כשגגהו. למה יקצוף האלוהים על קולך? Why should Hashem get angry at your voice, at whatever you said? וחבל את מעשה ידיך. And whatever you said will cause you to damage, to hurt your actions. What are your actions? מעשה ידיך, the actions of your hands. איזו מעשה ידיו של אדם, says the Gemara? זה אומר בניו ובנותיו של אדם. Those are his children. Those are his מעשה ידיים. Action, his hands actions, his hands deeds. Because of that, one has to be very, very careful when it comes to nedarim. And this woman that that constantly says nedarim and doesn't keep to them is violating a severe isur. So her husband says, I want to divorce her without paying her the ketuva. They come to Bet Din, and the wife says, 1 minute, that is all true, that he can divorce me without paying me the ketuba if we had children. So then, if we had children, the children are in danger. But we don't have any children. We still don't have any children. So therefore, what is he talking about? What is he afraid of? The husband says, indeed so, you're right. But maybe there's other punishments that come along with that as well, that I'll be punished together with you. And therefore, I want a divorce, and I'm not paying the ketuba. And she says, no, Chazal said, Ba'avon nedarim banim metim. And that's all. Don't bring other things as well. Who's right? Says the Trumat Hadeshen נראה שיש לחלק. ויקלה מהם הרשעך שאינה בת בנים, מה ציטאין אילו לא פשט מדדיו ולא קיים, מתרחש לי ניסה שנעשה לאמנו שרה עליה שלום. ואחי אשכחד ממש בתלמודה, which means although he has a claim that he could say that you're right, we don't have any children. And if you weren't sinning, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us children. That is true, you could say that. But you need to know that in the end of the day, we only go according and what Chazal said. Chazal said that if you have children, you lose your children, and that's all. And therefore, because of that, the husband can't say to his wife that you're losing your ketubah because of the fact that you're saying nedarim. And this is how the Chida explains. He openly explains this, and it comes out beautiful. He says, only whatever Chazal openly explained and said, that we can claim against the wife. כגון, מה שאמרו בעוון נדרים בנים מתים, יש לתלות העונש בחטא. כגון שאמרו, עושה כך, יראה לו כך. If Chazal say, you do this sin, this will happen to you. On that, you can blame the other person. And therefore, over here, if she would have children and chas v'shalom, they would die, the husband has a real claim against her, and he would be correct. But when there's no children yet, just to say that other punishments will come along, we don't know that. Because we don't know that, we don't take that and carry that against the wife. And therefore, b'chilul Shabbat, that we come back to our story with Shimon and Reuven, that both are fighting, that Shimon violated the Shabbat, and Reuven said, because of that, there was a robbery, and you have to bear the loss. And Reuven says, there's no relation between my Chilul Shabbat and the lost. So says the Chida, b'chilul Shabbat, af al pi shu chamur meod, although violating the Shabbat is very strict and very serious. לא מצינו שאמרו חז"ל שבעוון חילול שבת ליסטים באים ולוקחים ממונו. We never found that Chazal said to us that if a person violates the Shabbat, he would be robbed. And since Chazal never said that, you can't say that the loss of Shimon or the loss of the partners that they were robbed is because of the sin of Shimon, because he violated the Shabbat. Because Chazal never told us this. So therefore, you can have all kind of different ideas why a person lost money, but unless Chazal told you exactly the reason of the loss, you can't blame Shimon for that, and you can't tell him to bear the entire loss. And we see the same thing happens by the woman that says nedarim, that since Chazal said something very specific only if you have children already, if you don't have children, you don't have to bear a financial loss because of that. The husband wants to divorce his wife, that's one thing. But the Ketuba belongs to her, and since you don't know for sure that you got punished because of her sins, because there's no children. And Chazal said only if you have children, the children die. That is when you have a claim against her, and not over here. And same thing would be by our case over here as well, when we're dealing with this woman. This woman says, in our case, that the husband is sinning, and because of that, he lost the source of income. The way we just explained before is that you have to have a chazal, open chazal, that would say, because of your sins, you are to lose your income. Since we don't find such a chazal, we don't have a claim against the husband. And we say that we don't know. We say to the wife, you don't know. You don't know, that's the reason. That would be all true if we would talk about two partners. But now we're dealing with a husband and a wife. When a husband and a wife are arguing, you have to see a little bit deeper than that. And the obligation of bringing parnasah to the house lies on the husband. And a husband has to make sure that the wife has everything that she needs. That's one of the obligations that he obligated himself in the Ketuba when he got married. And because of that, we do find that a person, parnasah, has to do with his actions. We do find such a thing. And because of that, she does have a good claim against the husband. Although there's no specific chazal that say if you'd sin this way, you would lose your parnasah. But we do find that when a person doesn't keep Torah mitzvot correctly, he doesn't pray correctly, all kind of things, that brings a lack of parnasah to the house. And who's the first one to suffer from a lack of parnasah? That's his family, his children and his wife. Because of that, could be that the wife is correct for saying that there's lack of parnasah in the house and it's due to the husband's sin. Although in other cases you would not say that, but over here, lichora, this is exactly what we're talking about. That a husband, a person that keeps Torah mitzvot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings him good parnasah. And when not, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes away his parnasah. That we know because we found Chazalim on that. We found that Chazal say that the parnasah of a person is decided on Rosh Hashanah, and therefore on Rosh Hashanah a person that prays correctly and he does teshuvah and so on, he would be ma'avir roa gezerah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu would sign him Shnat Parnasa, and we do pray that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would put us into, would sign us in a Parnasa year, a good Parnasa year, and we do find that our action have to do with the Parnasa. So if we would talk between two partners, my Parnasa has nothing to do with you. But we're talking about a husband and a wife. A husband's action right away has an effect on his wife and children, on his entire family, because he's the source of Parnasa to the house. And that is the claim of that woman. Maybe she's right. And on normal circumstances, that would be maybe a good claim. But over here, still is different. Because over here is what we call Makat Medina. If you would find that one person lost his Parnasa, then maybe the wife has a right to say that it's because of your bad actions, bad deeds, sins, lack of mitzvot. But when we see that it's not only one person, but it's an entire city, the entire world is losing their Parnasa. We see that there's huge amount of people that were laid off, that lost their finance, that lost their business, and so on. We see that it has nothing to do with the individual. It has to do with a Makat Medina, a problem that has to do in the entire world or the entire country. Because of that, obviously, there's no claim against the husband, because the husband could say, what's that have to do with me? Look at our neighbors, look at our friends, look at our families. They're also losing their Parnasa. What do you want from me? If on a normal, regular day, he would lose his Parnasa, maybe a claim would be by the woman's side. But over here, because of the fact that everybody, there's so many people that losing their Parnasa, being affected by the pandemic, no more we can blame the husband. This is question Nun Chet, with the answer from the Chida and the Trumot Hadeshet that has to do with our case, from the Sefer, the new Sefer Shaf Veyativ. Anybody that wants to purchase that Sefer, you can reach out to me, text me at 347-666-3467, or go to the local Sfarim store. Thank you.